by the union of left brachiocephalic vein, right brachiocephalic vein. That's formed by the union of the internal jugular and subclavian. Draining into the subclavian, we have external jugular, vertebral, thyrocervical trunk, which we don't really worry about much as a vein. So right now I want to look at our upper extremity pattern. And I'm going to bring it up because blood is flowing from the lower, from the fingers back up towards the heart. So I'm going to draw the deep artery veins that travel with the arteries that you're already familiar with. So we have closest to the midline of the body, we're going to have the ulnar artery. There would be venous arches and so on, the same superficial palmar arch and deep palmar arch for the veins, but I'm not going to worry about those. So this is going to be the ulnar artery.
Vein or artery?
Sorry, vein. And on the lateral aspects, we would have the radial vein. And those two join together to form the brachial vein. So when we're talking about arteries, they branched. Radial and ulnar arteries were branches of the brachial vein. Branches of the brachial artery. Now radial and ulnar veins join together to form the brachial vein. The brachial vein travels up the arm and becomes the axillary. And the axillary turns into subclavian.
Is there anything off of that?
So we
Yes.
have
So
radial,
I could leave space.
radial,
I think I made mine too.
ulnar.
My space is like alien arm or something.
This is brachial vein.
Well, I gotta have an alien arm too, because this is
7
gonna
feet
be,
long.
my forearm is really wide here.
You got a pump up along.
So I'm not gonna put in my axillary vein just yet. Give myself some anchoring points, all right? So those are the deep veins traveling with the arteries that have the same name. And if we look at the wire models, you can see this on the wire models posteriorly. So back here would be lateral, that would be the radial vein, ulnar vein joining to form the brachial vein, and axillary and subclavian veins. So everything is traveling with the arteries and carrying the same name. Now I'm going to add the superficial vessels. This is going to make my forearm very wide. It's not going to be very anatomically correct, but that gives me room to do so. I'm going to draw in purple just to help you see the difference. If you look on the back of your hand, you may not be able to see it unless you have your upper extremity hanging down for a while. But as you get older and you lose collagen and elastic fibers, it becomes more visible. And so across the back of the knuckles, you have a dorsal venous arch,
I can see it.
which towards the thumb is going to give rise to this vessel right here, which is known as the cephalic vein. So the cephalic vein is lateral. Starts across the back of the hand and then travels up the lateral aspect of the forearm. So I'm going to draw that over here. And it empties into the axillary just prior to the axillary becoming subclavian. Dorsal venous arch. Emptying into axillary. So at this point, it becomes subclavian. All right? Here it is axillary.
Is that dotted line?
Is that the clavicle?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this would be the cephalic vein. On the medial side, on the little finger side, starting really right along the little finger, we have, and again, I told you my forearm here is going to get huge. We have a shorter superficial known as the basilic. Not basilar, that's in the skull. But basilic always remind me of Harry Potter's basilisk, or whatever that serpent was called. And it's going to empty, it's going to join with the brachial vein just where it becomes axillary. Yes.
So the cephalic vein empties into the axillary, right?
So if you were to
Axillary.
trace a drop of blood from the back of the hand, you would go cephalic vein,
Mhm.
axillary vein,
Subclavian.
and then subclavian. So
That's
you'd still name axillary. If you were tracing it through the basilic, you would go basilic to axillary. Basilic does not empty into brachial. They both empty into the axillary, one just before axillary ends, one just after axillary begins.
The purples are posterior?
Purples are superficial.
The next dotted line, is
So
that
then-
carrot bigger, or is that down dot?
Yeah, that would be approximately there.
Okay, so this one.
Now, these two vessels, cephalic and basilic, are connected at the elbow area. One pattern looks like a Y, and that's what you see on the wire model. And the other pattern looks like an H. That's what you see on the diagram and what you see on that white flat vascular model. So this will be radial, again, ulnar, brachial. I'm just repeating what I have over here so I can show you those two patterns. So basilic is medial. Cephalic is lateral. Now in the back of the room on our brown torso muscle model, you can see the cephalic. Here's the external jugular superficial sternocleidomastoid, and here's the cephalic, traveling just under the skin. You can see it on some of the dehydrated bodybuilders, between the deltoid and the pectoralis major. This is not axillary. Axillary is going to be down here. Okay? This is superficial and then dives into axillary just before it becomes subclavian under the clavicle. All right? Okay, now let's look at the two other superficial ones. So cephalic is joined to basilic in the Y and the H pattern by a vessel near the cubital fossa called the median cubital vein. And that's what you see here at this point right here. Draining from the forearm,
Okay, so.
either draining into basilic or into median cubital, we have the median antebrachial. And those are those four superficial vessels I told you about. So median antebrachial refers to coming up the anterior forearm. Antebrachial means forearm. Now, I didn't bring water-soluble pens with me today, all right? But, and I had a student about 3 semesters ago who had these two different patterns. I'm going to show the second one really clear. She was an older student. I wish I'd taken pictures because they really, you can see them very clearly. One pattern in each vessel, one in each arm. So dorsal venous, I'm going to have to scrub this when I get home. Dorsal venous coming up as cephalic, basilic, coming up like that, little finger side, okay? And then median cubital connects the two, and median antebrachial draining either into median cephalic or into basilic. That's the H pattern that I drew on the board there. Okay? The Y pattern, we don't have a median cubital. So let me draw the Y pattern here, and then I'll draw it on that side. So again, here is basilic on the medial side. Here is cephalic on the lateral side. And each of them gives off, well, here's the median antebrachial, and then it can go into the basilic or it can go into the cephalic. That's the Y pattern. That's what you see on the wire models. So we still have a median antebrachial, but we have a median basilic and a median cephalic forming the Y. All right? I'll let that dry before I pull my sweater down. But here would be the median antebrachial. And then it would drain into the median basilic via the median, it would drain into basilic via median, sorry, my words are all wrong here. So it's going to drain into the, this is cephalic. And this would be median cephalic. And this is basilic on the medial aspect, and that would be median basilic. So there is no median cubital. I didn't used to bother with this, but the models show both, and students would get confused as to which they were looking at. So here is that V pattern. So here would be median antebrachial, median cephalic, median basilic. Okay.
If you put it in perspective, please, like which one is most superficial?
Like I said, that student had one in one arm and one in the other. So which is more, veins are the most variable of any of our vessels. They're much more variable than arteries where they branch and where they come on.
I'm totally confused right now.
Okay? Now let's look at, this diagram is, we're going to come back to the chest. This is a cadaver dissection. And we're going to have the cadavers on Thursday, so we're going to do a similar, we may have to, the cadavers are going to be in use from 12 to 1:30, so we'll have them afterwards. When we do the vein lab, later, the second part, so you can have them, but here's the aorta, here's the brachiocephalic trunk, and left common carotid and left subclavian, and here's the superior vena cava. So those of you that didn't get a chance to see the superior vena cava on your sheet parts, here's the left brachiocephalic vein and the right brachiocephalic vein. Can see how thin those vessels are compared to the thick artery walls. And these are branches of the vagus nerve coming down here. So we're going to move to the chest wall. Remember we had the internal thoracic arteries giving rise to the anterior intercostal vein arteries which join the posterior intercostal arteries. So we're going to look at a slight variation. Remember I said we have a few that are different. So here we're going to have a slight variation on that. May I erase the upper extremities?
No.
Okay.
Professor, in the Y pattern, what's
Uh-huh.
the middle one?
It's still called the median antebrachial. So what we do is we lose the median cubital and add median cephalic and median basilic. And then you would have a variation on that
Where's the dorsal venous arch?
where
Stem of the leg.
I mean, at some combination you can make that kind of change that, go into that, and you can see how it's very a bit. Yes,
You mentioned a cubital, but
median cubital.
where's that?
The median cubital is the H, the crossbar on the H.
Is that the arch?
And this is the Y, so there's no median cubital on the Y. We replace it with a median basilic and a median cephalic,
Also, there's either or.
either or.
Okay.
You can have one on one side, one on the other, or you can have both of them, the Y. You're not gonna have the H and the Y in one arm.
Well, that's,
No, there'll be one arm or the other.
because my H and Y are all over each other.
Yeah, that's why I do it on two separate arms.
They're having miles.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
So this stuff is already.
No, we're not.
Yes,
And, everything else is the same, it's just.
everything else is the same, it's just these two positions. Yeah.
I'm trying to send you pictures and it's not letting me. Probably because my phone's all returned. And it'll come through.
Working out.
Okay,
Purple
so
and yellow go together, don't they? Are they considered to be complementary colors?
they say like syphilis.
Lakers. Go Lakers.
Syphilic is 5. Wait a minute.
We're not very like
Basilic.
the Lakers. Huh?
So this is.
Okay,
Hold on.
you guys ready?
Yes.
Hold on. Syphilic, basilic. Hold on. Brachial. Brachial is 3. Just give me 1 second. Median. Median. 9.
So when we come back now, we're gonna look at this area right here. Okay, I could draw it there, but it'd get a little busy. You guys would have a hard time finding.
And then when it
following
comes down from
It's
the
going this way, remember, blood's flowing this way.
Oh, right,
So
sorry.
up the median antecubital,
that's what I'm looking
I
for.
mean, median antebrachial. This, I'm sorry, I didn't label that. It's the same as this one here. So this is still median antebrachial.
Okay, so that's
And
8.
then it could go either left or right, medial or lateral,
Median anter. Okay.
into the basilic, either basilic or median cephalic.
So where is dorsal venous arch? So that's
Dorsal venous arch is going to be the beginning of cephalic. I just didn't draw it on that side.
okay.
Because I was interested primarily in the elbow region. Okay?
Dorsal venous arch. She said she didn't draw it.
On that side, I only drew it on this side. Dorsal venous arch would be right here.
Oh.
I just didn't label it. So I'm gonna leave those structures up there that I've drawn.
So median basilic.
And we have the internal thoracic artery.